There have been a lot of insane games in the last few years. There's also been a lot of games that were supposed to be insane but failed miserably. So I decided to play these for the sole purpose of figuring out whether these games were review bombed for no reason or they were actually trash. So let's go back in time to an era we all remember. The era of great games. 2016 to 2019 were some of the best years of gaming. In this time, we were blessed with games like Dark Souls 3, Super Mario Odyssey, Zelda Breath of the Wild, Fortnite, Red Dead Redemption 2, God of War, even LEGO Marvel Superheroes. But somewhere in between the threads of space and time was 2017, the exact date being May 3rd. On this day, Overwatch was released, a 6 vs 6 hero shooter with a large initial roster of unique characters to play and new ones frequently being added. Personally, I sunk hours into this game. I just couldn't get enough of it and I only have fond memories of the game. The idea of being able to play different characters in a single match and each character had their own unique abilities, there wasn't anything much cooler than that. But just like any other game, eventually I'd stopped playing it. I found interest in other games and anything Overwatch related flew under my radar. That was until I started looking for the worst games I could find on Steam. There were a lot of games that have been deemed downright appalling. Even games developed by AAA companies had fallen victim to the wrath of overwhelmingly negative reviews. But in my search, a select few stood out to me. Among those was Overwatch 2. I'd heard here and there that Overwatch 2 was released a while ago, but I hadn't expected it to end up doing this poorly. The Overwatch I remembered was so fun, so how could a sequel to it possibly be that bad? Surely it encapsulated the same experience as the first one, right? Well, no. No, it doesn't. One critic exclaimed, Overwatch 2 takes the franchise from a genre-defining shooter to a trend-chasing one. As such, it's begun to feel less like a unique sci-fi superhero comic book in video game form and more like, well, a lot of other games. A huge change the developers made to the game was reducing the team size from 6 vs 6 to 5 vs 5. As a result, this makes the game slower, and no one wants to play a slow version of the fast-paced game they once loved. Another very large problem Overwatch 2 faced, and still faces to this day, is the microtransactions that it pushes. In the original game, you had the opportunity to open loot boxes for cool new cosmetics, and you could get them for free, or buy them, but that's a separate topic. Overwatch 2's alternative? A battle pass. Oh, and skins that you can buy. Skins that you buy with an in-game currency. A currency that you buy with real-world money. Sure, you can earn it for free from the battle pass, but you don't even get enough to buy the battle pass, let alone a decent selection of cosmetics. What reason do I have to play the game if there isn't anything for me to earn? Without any cosmetics or cool stuff for me to chase after, what point is there to leveling up? However, that's enough negativity for now. What are some positive things about Overwatch 2? Well, there's an ever-expanding roster of 41 heroes currently, each with their own unique abilities, providing endless variety. The map selection is awesome, featuring different areas and countries from around the world. With the cartoonish art style of Overwatch, graphically, the game is very comforting. In terms of performance, Overwatch 2 didn't have any problems. It ran smoothly without a drop in frame rate even once. The game's UI and settings are also very sleek and smooth, with the simplicity to match it. The gameplay itself, I found to be very enjoyable. I felt immersed in capturing every objective, while controlling my character as if I was actually the character in the game. I was excited to use each ability in Ultimate every time it recharged for another chance to help my team or get an elimination. All around, I don't feel that Overwatch 2 deserves the hate that it received. The game was genuinely fun, in a controlled chaos sort of way. Although the amount of microtransactions is absolutely diabolical, the game isn't deserving of its rating. A little under a month after Overwatch 2 was released, the well-known franchise of Call of Duty released a follow-up to their 2019 version of Modern Warfare. This, of course, being Modern Warfare 2. When the game first came out, I was super excited to play it. After having to deal with the Call of Duties of the previous 2 years, Modern Warfare 2 was a much-needed breath of fresh air. So when I decided to review some of the worst games on Steam, I was filled with shock when I saw Modern Warfare 2 on the list. After all, I remembered the game being pretty fun and enjoyable, so that begged the question, what went wrong? And in order to find this out, dusting off the game files, I booted up Modern Warfare 2. Before I can move into my most recent assessment of Modern Warfare 2 though, there were already some negative characteristics that I observed with my first phase of playing the game. With the release of Modern Warfare 2, Warzone was revamped as a 2.0 version, and just like any other battle royale on planet Earth, there was a battle pass. but rather than having a linear progression, this battle pass allows you to pick the path you gain your rewards, and even the rewards you want on a specific tier. I found this new feature to be a bad addition to the game because it didn't make the game any simpler. In fact, it just caused the game to have a bunch of unnecessary cinematics just for me to purchase a battle pass tier, and on top of that, there were microtransactions after microtransactions. So I'm back in 2024, and I boot up Modern Warfare 2 for the first time in quite a while. The loadout system in this game is truly awesome. There are a seemingly endless amount of weapons, utility, and abilities to choose from. Being able to customize every single weapon, going as far as the ability to tune each attachment, really is a unique feature you don't see very often, if at all. There were still so many camos that I could grind for, and I still had quite a few guns I hadn't unlocked. Honestly, I was excited to play the game when I loaded up a match. The servers were still super full, and I hardly had to wait. The excitement came to a fairly abrupt halt after the games had begun. The movement in MW2 is pretty clunky. When I played the game, I actually felt like I was wearing the full Kevlar gear. The sluggish feel of the game made spawning back in more of a hassle because I knew I'd just have to run back to the objective. The gunplay was one of my favorite aspects to revisit though. Using each gun was immersive. I could almost feel the recoil whenever I shot the gun. During my sessions of play, I did my best to use one gun from every single kind of weapon, and every single weapon felt amazing. Even if a specific gun wasn't good, it was still fun to use, and I felt like I was just recruited into the US military. The game modes are also all great. Being able to filter which game mode you want to play really is an awesome quality of life feature. The UI was also very simple. Overcomplicating menus is a problem with some really good games, but MW2 handled this really well. Aside from those aspects of MW2, there wasn't much else to it. DMZ is mid, there's nothing really else to say about it, and microtransactions are still a problem. In short, it's a good game. It doesn't deserve the hate that it gets, but I can understand why someone might hate it. The last two games are or were very popular during their release. The next one though, I have quite literally never heard of until now. Hawkin Reborn is a mech game. You drive a mech around and shoot stuff. That's literally it. When I opened the game up, my expectations were actually pretty high. The settings menu looked professional, so I was ready for a fun experience. That was until I clicked continue. There was no tutorial. I was just thrown to the wolves to figure out how to play by myself. I was forced to figure out how to start up a mission, which didn't take long, but it was still annoying. There also wasn't any backstory as to why I was going on these missions. All I knew was that I was a mech pilot that had cool guns and could fly. On top of that, the missions weren't even missions. I felt like I was just wandering around, completing random tasks for reasons I was unaware of. I could gather loot from defeating enemies and opening chests, but I didn't even know what the loot did. At some point, I discovered that you have to extract yourself and the loot you gathered from your patrol. And that was basically all the game was about. Drop in, blow stuff up, and extract. So yeah, I can totally understand why no one liked the game. After a bit of research, the only story I could discover was that we were on a planet known as Alal, thought to be humanity's future utopia, now turned into a grim dystopia driven by corporate corruption and greed. An accident gave birth to the Giga, a nanite plague. This game had a lot of potential, but the execution was horrific. Overall, cool robots, no tutorial, big guns, 3 out of 10. At the end of the day, some bad games don't deserve the reviews they get, and others deserve more bad reviews than they already have. Playing these bad games, however, caused me to realize that the games we have now really are a lot better than these poorly reviewed games. And I think rather than looking at every bad little detail of the new games coming out, seeing the good in all of them will make playing them so much more fun. So give that bad game an extra chance, because it just might be the game you've been looking for all this time.